They literally say breastfeeding is a full-time job, and I'm a firm believer in that because we have spent many, many, many hours breastfeeding. I get to stay at home with Lorelai, so it's a lot easier for me to bond with her in that way because I don't have to send her to a daycare or to somewhere else or pump and then give her a bottle. I am super blessed and super thankful for that. Hey guys, it's Madison. Thanks for joining me in this faithful home. Today, let's talk about 10 things that I have learned in my breastfeeding journey in the 10 months that Lorelai and I have been exclusively breastfeeding. You ready to eat so that I can talk? Yes. Okay. One sec. All right, this video is going to be in no particular order, and I also have someone coming to cut down a tree here in a little bit, so hopefully I can nurse her, do this video, and all that before he gets here. So let's go ahead and jump into number one. I have them all written down on my phone. Number one, and no particular order, the bond that I have with Lorelai through breastfeeding is unlike anything else. David makes jokes that Lorelai is connected to me at the hip, because she sits on my hip a lot, but I would joke and say that she is connected to me at the breast because she feeds every 2 to 3 hours and then wakes up in the middle of the night every hour or so. If you need to see that video of what I'm talking about, I will leave that video for you guys so you can go watch that when I talk about her sleeping. But she nurses nonstop, and I absolutely love the bond that we have together through breastfeeding. I have no judgment for how you choose to feed your baby. I personally think that breastfeeding is the best, but that is my opinion, and that's the wonderful thing about this platform is that we can have our own opinions and we can agree to disagree. So you do it how you think is best for your baby. I think breastfeeding is best, and I absolutely love the bond that we have together. I would literally rather breastfeed her than feed her like table foods because one, it's easier, but two, it's just such a beautiful bond that if you don't do it or you're the husband, you wouldn't understand. But there's just something so beautiful about it. Hey, sorry if this video is shaky. She's currently standing at the tripod. Number two is that oversupply is not talked about as often. I feel like we talk about undersupply and low supply and moms struggling with feeding their babies through breastfeeding, but we rarely talk about oversupply. We talk about it at the beginning, right? Like when you're engorged and your milk's coming in and that feels like you have so much milk, but your body knows how much your baby needs and it'll regulate to some degree. I have always had an oversupply, and you may think, wow, like you think that's a bad thing? Hear me out. Having an undersupply, I don't know what that's like because obviously I have enough milk to feed my baby and then some. Having an oversupply can be just as difficult and frustrating sometimes because at the beginning of our breastfeeding journey, my boobs leaked a ton and I would have to use the Haka on one side to catch all the letdown because if I didn't, I'd be soaking through multiple pads and my shirt and my bra. And it was a lot to manage, especially when like I'm out and about and she's hungry, I just pop her on the boob, but I can't just do that. I have to deal with everything else that goes along with it. So I feel like we don't share about oversupply as often because we're afraid that the moms that are dealing with undersupply will judge us or we will get like rude comments because why are you complaining about having an oversupply when you can actually feed your baby? You know where I'm going with that. Like I could see that happening and it may happen in the comments here. If you want to comment that, that's fine. That's, you know, that's your opinion. You have the right to do so. This is my platform and I'm going to share how I feel. And so oversupply is just not talked about a lot. Number three is there is no one set way of breastfeeding. And I think this is also very important. Motherhood in general, there is no one set way you have to do things. You could breastfeed exclusively. You can pump and then give your baby the bottle. You can choose to do formula if that's the decision that your family makes. There is no one set way of doing it. And then within breastfeeding, there's no one set way. It's not put them on this side for a timer of 20 minutes, put them on this side for 20 minutes, do that every 3 to 4 hours, and that's how it works. It's super fluid. There's things called cluster feeding, which is where your baby wants to feed constantly in smaller increments. Or you can choose to feed only in the evenings for bed. You can nurse her to sleep. You can give her a bottle of breast milk so that your husband can participate. There is not one set way to do it. There's different positions. You can hold them like cradle style, football hold, laying on your back. I've had to do all these things because of my oversupply. At the very beginning, we were trying trying not to basically flood and bombard her with milk. And so my midwife actually had me laying almost completely flat to nurse her. That way it would force Lorelai to do more work rather than gravity just taking over and like spewing at her. And still to this day, we are 10 months into it, I still get a letdown that is so fierce that it is a fire hydrant, basically attacking Lorelai as she eats. And I can hear it, and you can hear her breathing, like the sucking and like trying to keep up with it. Still, now I don't lay back anymore. At night I do, like when we sleep, I'm definitely like laying back. Yeah, but during the day, not as much. But there are many different ways you can go about breastfeeding. When you're in public, do you cover up? Do you go find a quiet space? I'm the type that's like, this is natural. This is what my body is designed to do. There are laws that protect me while I'm in public. So I'm a whip the boob out, put her on, let her eat. Now, obviously, like I'll have shirts that are flowy that I can like kind of cover a little bit, but I don't tend to wear any nursing covers. I actually don't own any nursing covers. When I'm at church, I just make sure that I'm sitting in a spot where, you know, it's not right in front of someone. I get it. There's like boundaries that you should set. Okay, I'm gonna go off on a tangent there. So we'll just rein it back in and we'll just continue on to the next point. That leads me into my next point, which I only nursed Lorelai on my right side. So like I said, we're 10 months into this breastfeeding journey. At about 4 months, when she was going through a 4-month sleep regression. Okay, sorry, I had to take care of Lorelai for a sec. Let's see, where did I lead off? Oh yes, feeding her only on my right side. So I stopped feeding her on the left side back at 4 months, and that has worked for us. I didn't get like mastitis, I didn't get engorged or anything on my left side. It just was kind of like neutral. Still to this day, if I want to, I could hand express and I can get milk. So if I really did need to feed her on my left side, like I could, I just choose not to because it's more comfy for me to just feed her on my right side. I am left-handed, and so it is more natural for me to do things with her on my right side and leave my left hand free. And that has worked for us, and that has been great. Okay, number 5, your baby may not eat as much when they're going through a regression, but they also may eat more. So your baby's gonna go through different leaps and different regressions. There's an app called Wonder Weeks, which I think is really cool. It shows like when she's gonna go through like growth spurts and different like developmental milestones. And also you have the traditional sleep regressions at like 6 weeks, 4 months, 9 months. Goodness, I'd have to look it up again because clearly I don't remember. We've made it through them, so obviously we're okay. But they babies will either not want to nurse or nurse more often. And we have seen that in both regards. So I have seen that in the 4-month, I think it was around that 4-month sleep regression when I switched to just her feeding on the right side. I did struggle for a second thinking that I wasn't gonna have enough supply because I made that choice to only feed her on the right side. I am fine, but that took me a little bit of a hurdle to come to grips with that, making sure that I am still producing enough milk for her. But sometimes your baby won't do that. Most of the times, Lorelai tends to cluster feed. And so when she's not feeling good or when she's going through those regressions, she actually wants to not eat more, but nurse and comfort more. And so basically your breast is the first and best pacifier for your baby. So this obviously does the trick for a little bit, but she likes to latch on and just suckle on my breast and cluster feed that way sometimes, especially when she's going through regressions. Number 6 is that nursing is the best comfort for teething. So yes, they make teething gels. Yes, you could give your baby Tylenol, and there's different like herbal and natural or medicinal ways to comfort teething. But what we have found to be the best comfort in teething, especially when it's like about to pop, is nursing. And I think that it is beautiful. There are so many healing properties of breast milk that help your baby when they are teething. And so that is definitely helpful and has helped Lorelai as she has gotten her bottom 2 teeth and now is working on her first top tooth. Number 7 is your baby is going to eat when they are hungry, not on a fixed schedule. Nothing wrong with schedules and nothing wrong with moms who choose to feed their baby on specific strict schedules. But from what I found in my experience is that when a baby is hungry, they will eat, and when they're not hungry, they will not eat. So Lorelai is small. She is 10 months and literally weighs 13 pounds and is the same size as my friend's baby who is 6 weeks old. So her stomach is a lot smaller than some of the other babies her age. So she needs to eat more often because she is smaller and her body can only handle so much volume at a time. So if I tried to put her on a 10-month feeding schedule and would feed her, every 3 to 4 hours, and then like once in the middle of the night, she would not get enough calories that her body needs because she has way too fast of a metabolism and way too small of a stomach to handle a set schedule. She's going to tell me when she's hungry based off her cues, either now by like crawling up to me and trying to nurse or trying to find my breast, or when she was a little bit younger, she'd be crying because she was hungry. Give yourself grace. And if a schedule isn't working for you, then maybe try to do something different. If the schedule works for you, that's fantastic because like I said, every mom is different. And this is just what I've learned for myself and Lorelai and our personal breastfeeding journey over the last 10 months. Number 8 is a little bit frustrating, and it goes along with what I just said on number 7. And it happens to be a trend right now on TikTok and Instagram. And number 8 is exclusively breastfed babies will not magically gain weight like the current TikTok trends. And if I can, or I'll try to insert one here, if not, basically the trend is show me your baby after 2 months of breastfeeding. And it was like small baby and then chunky baby with thick rolls. And that is just so toxic for moms because that shows, literally this stupid trend shows that if your baby in 2 months of breastfeeding does not have a ton of rolls and has not put on 5, 6, 7 pounds or something ridiculous, then you're doing something wrong or you're not feeding them enough. And I think that is very toxic in this culture, especially for new moms who desire to breastfeed and also have the struggle of, am I feeding my baby enough? Lorelai is happy, is healthy, is 10 months old, weighs not a lot, but that doesn't mean that she's not getting enough milk from me because I've already mentioned that I have an oversupply, that she gets a fire hydrant every meal, every 2 hours. She has a fast metabolism, and that's just her body type. I am tall and skinny. David is short and doesn't weigh much. And so just by genetics alone, she is not going to be a big baby. Like, that's not going to happen. So to put that pressure on moms to say that in 2 months of breastfeeding, your baby should have these thick, chubby rolls and should weigh like 35 pounds. I'm just kidding. But like, that's how it feels. And it feels like you're doing something wrong if your baby is not like the babies on this TikTok trend. Rant over. Moving on to number 9. If breastfeeding is something that you really want to do, stick with it through the hard times and seek after some help if you need it, especially like an IBCLC or someone who is certified in lactation to help you. New moms have so much pressure on them already in a lot of different ways. And especially in today's society with social media, and I get it, I'm literally making a YouTube video, so I'm on social media. I understand too, but I'm trying to be the other side of social media, the encouraging side. But if you want to breastfeed and that's your goal and you are struggling with it, don't give up. Don't fall into the like societal pressure or the, just, supplement or do X, Y, and Z. If you really want to do this, seek resources that can help you first before you make that decision. Obviously, I'm not a doctor. I'm not your doctor. I'm not a medical professional. I am a mom of a 10-month-old. But I have had friends in the past tell me that they struggled at the beginning with feeding their baby and they didn't think that they were feeding them enough. And so they supplemented with formula, which is going to affect your milk supply because your baby's not at the breast as often. And then because of that, it just discouraged them even more. And then their journey with breastfeeding ended way before they wanted to because they didn't get proper help. Now, my midwife is fantastic, and the main midwife of the practice is a certified IBCLC, which is an international board certified lactation consultant. And so she is very knowledgeable in what she does. And so if I did have any questions, I know I could have gone to her at the very beginning. I didn't really have too many. We talked about it in the first 6 weeks as I had my postpartum groups. And so she was able to answer questions then, but I didn't struggle with it. And I'm super thankful and grateful. And I have obviously had other things that I have struggled with in motherhood and in parenting and figuring out how to take care of Lorelai. This is something I didn't struggle with, but I have had friends that have. And it's disheartening when they don't receive the proper care that they need when they are struggling with that. I could go on so many rants, but I'm gonna not. All I have to say is, if this is really something you want to do, seek help from a certified lactation consultant and seek multiple opinions if you're still struggling and not finding the right answers or the proper care. Number 10, I wrote down, the benefits of nursing do not stop after 1 year. Even the AAP now recommends that you can go up to 2 years, and there are benefits, and they're creating laws for moms to be able to nurse and pump in their jobs and in public and everything past that year mark. I am very much a believer that food before 1 is just for fun. And so right now, yes, we are introducing solids and complementary foods, and we are feeding those to her once or twice a day. But primarily, she needs to get her nutrition from breast milk. And the nutrition doesn't just automatically stop at the 1 year mark. Like, there's not some switch that like your breast is like, your baby has reached level 1. No more nutrients. Doesn't work like that. There are obviously still many good and way beneficial nutrients that your baby can get in breastfeeding past a year, which is why I am going to be breastfeeding her past a year if I can. And at this point, I don't see any reason why I shouldn't be able to. So breastfeeding has been a beautiful journey for us so far. I have loved all of it. I would not change the time that I have spent breastfeeding with her for anything. They literally say breastfeeding is a full-time job, and I'm a firm believer in that because we have spent many, many, many hours breastfeeding, and I don't have any plans of stopping anytime soon. And I'm super thankful that I get this opportunity to bond with her and to stay at home with her. I don't think I've mentioned that, but I get to stay at home with Lorelai, so it's a lot easier for me to bond with her in that way because I don't have to send her to a daycare or somewhere else or pump and then give her a bottle. I am super blessed and super thankful for that. Maybe I'll put that little thing in the beginning of the video so that it can just be a reminder not to compare yourselves to others because one person's situation is going to be different than the other. But I am super thankful of what I've learned so far in this breastfeeding journey. I am going to go nurse her again because she's getting fidgety and she didn't want to nurse earlier because I was talking to you guys. So thank you guys so much for watching this video. If you want to see more of my motherhood videos, I will leave that playlist down below in the description box for you guys. Make sure to like this video if you did. Share it with a mom to give her some encouragement for breastfeeding. And if you're new to my channel, I would love for you to hit that subscribe button so you feel welcomed into this faithful home with me. See you next week, guys. You say bye? You say bye? Bye, guys.